Hello and welcome to In Conversation with Rashmi. Today, my guest in conversation is Komal Singh. In 2018, Komal published her first children's book, Ara the Star Engineer, about a girl who learns to code. In Komal's newest book, Ara the Dream Innovator, Ara is back and exploring how to make innovations inclusive for everyone.
Hello world, I am Ara and this is my assistant DD. Beep! Did you know my name is a palindrome, just like my favorite expression, aha! They spell the same from front to back and back to front. And hey, I might be small, but I love to dream big. Could there be a computation for my wild imagination? Like counting all the stars in the sky, or decoding our dreams, or building flying machines that deliver ice creams. Nothing is impossible if I use my smarts and grit. So I assemble my team of friends. We are the super solvers. We look and think differently, but we unite on a problem-solving mission boldly. Along the way, we meet amazing real-life superheroes, from engineers to founders to scientists who teach us many cool things. Watch us as we code and build, test and troubleshoot, experiment and launch. See you on our adventures. Beep!
So thank you, Komal, for being here, and it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Hi, Rashmi. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here speaking with you today.
Give me a little history of how you came about even being a writer before we get into what the books are actually about.
Yeah, so I call myself an accidental author. I'm not an author by profession or trade. I have a background in computer science and I work at Google as an engineering program manager. But when I was a new mom, and at that time my daughter was about 4 years old, I was trying to find books for her that would talk about STEM related subjects, STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But I did not want the books to be too academic, and I did not want the books to be just, whimsical without any real STEM base. And of course, I wanted to introduce her to some amazing real life trailblazers who've done amazing things in the world of STEM. And I just wasn't finding the right balance of books. And that's when I came up with the idea of creating a children's book series that would, one, talk about concepts in a very relatable and a fun manner. So kids could see the world of STEM in a very whimsical manner. Two, also inspire the children from underrepresented backgrounds to see themselves as leaders in the fields of STEM. So I wanted to introduce characters based on real life trailblazers in the book. And that's how the idea of the ARA book series was born.
About, bringing in diversity and also introducing South Asians into it. So how important was inclusivity as a part of your writing or as part of your characters that you've introduced in your books?
Yeah, so to me, that's very important. For me, representation is monumental. I call myself a byproduct of the Scully effect. So what the Scully effect is that, a few years ago, there was a study conducted by the Gina Davis Institute on Gender Parity in Media, whereby they observed that more than 70% of young girls who grew up watching Dana Scully in X-Files landed careers in STEM fields. And I'm one of those people. Like, that is the importance of representation. I totally feel that if you can see it, you can be it. I get inspired by women around me who are from similar backgrounds, who probably look like me, or grew up in a cultural background similar to me. And I feel the same holds for children as well. I think the more they're able to see visuals of people who look like them, the more accessible and believable it becomes for them that they can be those future leaders too, if they want to be. So, inclusivity was very central to my books. I wanted that to be one of the pillars, which is why, the first book, which talks about engineering and algorithms, actually showcases women from a very diverse spectrum of backgrounds. The second book is about inclusive innovation. And again, in that book, we show women startup founders from different backgrounds.
Both your books here with me. So if anyone's looking, this one, Ara, the Star Engineer, was your first book that you brought out, and this one's the second one. So I know your daughter has played a huge role in contributing to both these books. So
Yeah.
as a young girl, and as a mom yourself, how does these characters from these books influence her into molding her to be what she wants to be or what she dreams about?
So I have two children. My daughter is now 8. The time I published the first book, she was 4. And since then, I have a son as well. He is 4 now. So, I'll tell you an interesting story. When we were promoting the books, the book number 1, I had the opportunity to actually travel to China when the book launched in simplified Chinese, and my daughter was with me. So we made it a bit of a family trip. And, there was a journalist there who asked my daughter, what do you want to be when you grow up? By the way, that's not a question I ever ask children. But anyway, somebody did ask her, what do you want to be when you grow up? And her answer was, I want to be an author and an engineer. And, I feel the reason she said that is because she saw me become an author, and then she saw engineers in the book. And for them, these two things became very accessible. And that led her to believe, okay, yeah, she can be so as well. And so that's the point about, what do characters do for you? The second thing I want to touch upon also is that just because this book has a girl as a hero does not mean that boys cannot be inspired from the book. I find my son is just as engrossed in the book. And I think it's just as important for boys and men to believe that women can be leaders and they can be their supporters. So I think the book is for everybody. It just happens to have a girl hero in it, because I find that sources for inspiration for girls in STEM are not there as much as there are for boys. They only just have to look at the top CEOs, and they're all men. So there are other sources of inspiration for boys as well, which is why I wanted the books to target more so the girls, but they serve as inspiration for boys as well.
Talking about, your first book where you traveled to China, I know both your books have traveled the world and in different languages. So tell me a little about that and how that journey has been.
Yes, actually, when I published the first book, I had no idea what to expect. My hope was that I'd be able to get a really awesome book out there for kids. I had no expectations beyond that. But I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised to see the success of the book. It was, generously accepted by readers in North America, but it also got translated and published in 10 plus languages. Some of them being Korean, simplified Chinese, Turkish, Portuguese, and I had the good fortune to travel to some of these book launches as well. And it was really interesting to see, how some of the experiences that girls and teachers have in other countries with respect to underrepresentation of women in STEM are similar. It was interesting to see we may all speak different languages, but the biases start creeping in at a very, very early age. So that was a great realization across cultures and languages for me. And it was great to see the book try to bust some of those stereotypes in other countries beyond the US and Canada.
Illustrations in both the books are phenomenal. So who has been, who's contributed to this book?
Yeah.
That would be great if
Yes.
you could share some info.
Yes, I agree. The illustrations are magical. And the illustrator of the book is this person called İpek Konak, who actually lives in Turkey, in Istanbul. She has illustrated more than 50 books in many different languages. and she is also a guest doodler. So she's done a bunch of Google Doodles as well. We were fortunate enough to get her on this project, and she's another person, who feels very strongly about women's rights and women doing great things. So it was a great meeting of the minds to have her on this project. And she really, really did justice to my imagination and my writing, and really tried to bring that out very beautifully through the illustrations.
Wow, that's impressive. And for you to connect with people from across the world does take, a lot of effort and also time to make those
Yeah.
things happen. So yeah, that's
Yes, and
impressive.
that's another example of blessing of technology, right? That's one of the blessings of technology. We have platforms where we can collaborate online, and yes, almost like 100% of our collaboration was online.
You have an engineering background yourself. So, and you have a full-time job, and you're writing, and you're a mom. So, how do you balance these different roles as an individual yourself?
Yeah, I wish there was a formula. I have to give a lot of credit to my work, as well as my family. So at Google, my full-time job, we have this concept of 20% projects, whereby you can devote 20% of your time to work on something that you're passionate about, but also something that aligns with Google's values and mission, right? So this project is part of my 20% work at Google. It's one part of that. We actually have a much bigger project whereby we try to see how we can use technology and AI to diversify children's literature, and publishing these books is one part of that. So I'm thankful to be working in a place and in a culture where such projects are supported in your mainstream business. So that has actually allowed me to carve out time for this. And then I have to say, like, family support is important. My husband is a great partner, and we divide the work pretty well amongst ourselves, delegate whatever we can, or kind of do shift work. And then you have to ruthlessly prioritize what's important to you. There will be days where I'll be spending a lot of time with my kids, but there will be days where I will just say, no, I'm sorry, you have to be on your own because this other project is important to me. So I think ruthless prioritization is very important.
Absolutely. Where can people find them? And, if they want a copy, where can they get it? If you can share some handles where they can reach out and connect with you if they need to. So,
Yes. So the books are available in any bookstore near you, Chapters, Indigo, the indie bookstores, as well as they're available on Amazon. So amazon.ca, amazon.com. Bookstores, online. And of course, both myself and the books are on Instagram and Twitter. So check us out over there as well. The handle for the books is Adventures of Ara on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
all right.
And you'll find me on these channels as well.
Is there book number 3 in progress or plans?
Yes. There is book number 3 in the plans. A little bit of progress made there. The only thing I'll tell you is hopefully it comes out in 2023. And it's going to be about AI and bias in AI.
That's awesome. So for all the aspiring kids out there who want to take that big leap into, STEM, what is your advice or takeaway from for those kids?
Yes, I think the number one thing I would say is be curious. Number two thing I would say is, being curious about STEM doesn't have to land you a job or a career in STEM. It's a skill set that you could use in your everyday life, even though you may or may not have a career in tech. So use your curiosity to develop some of these STEM-based concepts and apply them to everyday life. And you might just see that perhaps you land a career as well in STEM. And, I think we want all kinds of people to land jobs in STEM because representation is very important. Like, we want people who are building products of the future to reflect the needs of everybody in the world, right? And which is why it's so important to have girls be part of that conversation and be part of those board tables and decision-making tables. But anyway, that's the long-term goal, for us to have, more representation of women in STEM, but it can also be just a very, very cool tool to explore in your everyday life and apply in your everyday life. So stay curious. Again, stay curious and don't give up. Just keep exploring.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Komal. This was great. And thank you for being a part of this conversation. Wishing you luck for your book number 3, and take care. Stay safe.
Yes. Thank you very much, Rashmi. It was a blast speaking with you.
Take care.